Hello and welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy day to join me for this practical e-commerce seminar. The idea of distributed fulfillment or distributed warehousing is dead simple. Put your warehouses, put your inventory close to your customers. Rather than having all of your e-commerce, retail, B2B inventory in one warehouse located somewhere convenient to you, split that inventory up and put it right in your customer's proverbial backyard. That is our entire concept. That is everything we're going to speak about in the presentation. Now, my hope is that I'm going to be able to give you some supporting information, the odd bit of data or similar. But our premise, our idea is really that basic and really that simple. When you put your e-commerce inventory close to your customers, you get a number of competitive advantages, a couple of competitive advantages and operational advantages, and your business, regardless of its size, gets to compete on the retail stage with massive enterprise sellers. Now, before I go too far, I need to take a moment to introduce myself. My name is Armando. I have more than 20 years of e-commerce and marketing experience. I've owned my own retail e-commerce business. I've served for nearly a decade as the director of marketing e-commerce for a regional omnichannel retailer, and I'm currently the director of marketing for a direct-to-consumer manufacturing company. I've also been writing articles for and presenting seminars for practical e-commerce for going on 11 years. So it's nice to meet you. Maybe you'll message me on LinkedIn, and I'm very happy to be here. So in about 30 minutes time, I'm going to try to cover these 5 sections. My specific aim is to help you think about and get ready for starting to implement a distributed fulfillment strategy for your e-commerce operation. Okay? The particulars of what you end up doing are going to be unique to your company. A solution I've personally used more than once is to have a warehouse, you own a warehouse, have that, if you will, and then ship from it, but supplement that warehouse with third-party fulfillment providers located nearby pockets of potential customers, pockets of business for you. And as we go through each of the sections we're going to talk about today, I hope that you have questions, but I'm going to save those. I'm not going to answer until after the presentation. That will allow me to move through the presentation in a logical way. It'll help me stay on schedule, and it will ensure that I get to cover just about everything on the agenda. At the end, I'll respond to your questions. I'll even have some help from RSL, Rec and Super Logistics. So please think of questions, type them in as you think of them, but know that I'm going to wait until the end to try to answer them. Make sense? All right. Shipping from multiple locations, multiple warehouses distributed near the largest population centers in the nation can give your e-commerce business at least 2 distinct advantages over fulfilling all of your company's online orders from a single monolithic warehouse. These advantages are 1, cost of shipping, and 2, speed of delivery. Now, to be fair, we have an entire, albeit brief, section devoted to how distributed warehousing, or distributed fulfillment can reduce your costs or may reduce your costs. In fact, it's the very next section of the seminar. But we can still broach the subject of shipping cost in the context of competitive advantages because low cost or free shipping is a fundamental driver of online sales. When you add in fast shipping, think 1-day or 2-day shipping into the mix, you have some of the most important factors for providing a modern e-commerce retail experience. This chart comes from Walker Sands' The Future of Retail 2019 survey. Walker Sands is a big communications PR agency, and each year since 2013, the company has been surveying consumers, shoppers, to learn something about their preferences, what they want. Now, I'm going to briefly read to you from a section of this report. Section is titled, Fast and Free Shipping Still Fuels Online Purchase Decisions. So here goes. Quote, while so much has changed in retail over the past several years, the convenience of free and fast shipping remains the key to increased online purchases, end quote. Increased online purchases, by the way, those are increased online sales for those of us in the e-commerce business or really the retail business. I'm a big fan of increased online purchase. And frankly, I knew that fast and free shipping was a big part of that, a big part of driving online shopping convenience and online purchases, even before Walker Sands told me, but I digress. I will keep reading. Quote, online channels are offering a more convenient one-stop shop experience than ever before. In fact, just 19% of consumers believe that the online experience will never surpass the in-store customer experience. 27% believe it already has, and another 15% believe this is the year, end quote. That is pretty amazing. 1 in 5 folks believe that an in-store shopping experience will always be better than shopping online. Now, I wonder what that statistic would have looked like in, say, 1995 when Amazon opened its shop. What's more, 27% of shoppers think that the online e-commerce shopping experience is already better than shopping in a store. And another 15%, for a total of 42% of shoppers surveyed, think that the online shopping experience is already better than shopping in a store or will be better than shopping in a store this year. Okay, that's almost a topic for another seminar, but I'm going to keep reading. Quote, so what are consumers still looking for when it comes to an online shopping experience? The Walker Sands survey folks asked this. Answer, quote, free shipping reigns as the most important option for the 6th year in a row, end quote. Some 77% of the 1,600 American consumers that Walker Sands surveyed said that free shipping was an online sales driver that motivated them to make a purchase. And free shipping, by the way, was closely followed, or followed at least, by fast shipping and some other things. And as we start to name what are the important drivers of online purchases, again, fast and free shipping, or really free and fast shipping in that order. This is the data behind the dots you see. 35%, and this is a quote, so quote, 35% of consumers say that next day shipping is a key in getting them to purchase more online. But fast shipping preferences don't stop there. Think about this. 39% of consumers say same-day shipping would make them more likely to shop online, and 20% are looking for 2-hour or less shipping, end quote. As unbelievable as that might seem to you, when you get started with distributed warehouses, distributed fulfillment, you are increasing your company's ability to provide free shipping and fast shipping. And remember, free shipping is a purchase driver for more than 3/4 of shoppers surveyed. At the beginning of my presentation, I noted that our sponsor, Recton Super Logistics, had 12 fulfillment facilities. They used to say that they could reach something like 90% of American consumers by ground within 2 days. They can do this simply because with a distributed warehouse model, the product is stored in a facility and shipped from a facility close to the customer. Okay, I got the map that you're looking at from the U.S. Census Bureau. It shows population growth between 2010 and 2018. Take a look at Southern California. Huge population growth in that area. So if your e-commerce business is currently fulfilling orders from a single warehouse in New Jersey, it could take 4 or 5 days for your company to ship an order via UPS ground to Southern California, as an example. What's more, your cost for shipping that package via ground service could be perhaps 30% more, or even more than that, than if you had a second warehouse somewhere in the Los Angeles area, for example. So I started this section with these 2 competitive advantages for employing a distributed fulfillment network as compared to shipping from a single warehouse. The basic distributed warehouse advantages are: 1, that you can reduce the cost to ship items to your customers and therefore offer low cost or free shipping options, which will motivate more than 3/4 of your potential customers to make an online purchase or perhaps make additional online purchases. And number 2, you can deliver more quickly. In many cases, you will be able to reach your customers in 2 days with ground shipping. And depending on your e-commerce company's particular target customer, and depending on how well you selected your secondary or tertiary fulfillment center, you could begin reaching some of your customers in 1 day with ground level shipping services. I want to spend a little more time specifically addressing costs and how employing a distributed fulfillment strategy can, emphasis on can, reduce e-commerce shipping costs for your business. Primarily, The cost savings I'm going to talk about can take three forms, if you will. First, I'm willing to bet that many e-commerce operations are not fully accounting for the cost of fulfillment. So that even when your business gets a quote or an estimate for distributed fulfillment services, and you're looking at a per shipment fee or a receiving fee from a fulfillment provider's quote, you may not be comparing your actual cost to ship something with the quote that you've been given. And then when you do actually discover what it costs your company to ship something, now you may find that a fulfillment service provider is relatively more efficient. Your fulfillment cost per item could actually go down. Okay. Second, there are costs associated with misshipped orders. What is your current fulfillment center's, accuracy? What is your warehouse's accuracy? Does your warehouse misship orders? What are the costs associated with those? If your e-commerce business, was using a distributed warehouse model, and your partner, you've partnered with a fulfillment provider, could you boost your effectiveness? And could being more effective reduce your costs? I think it can. Third, a distributed fulfillment strategy will almost always reduce the actual shipping cost associated with an order. This is the case because you're shipping from a warehouse physically closer to the customer. And if you're using a third-party fulfillment provider, it is likely that they have better negotiated rates with many of the leading carriers. So let's start by speaking about what I called efficiency. It is the idea that in some cases, moving to a distributed fulfillment strategy can increase shipping efficiency. And in this context, I also want to speak about accuracy, accurately estimating what it costs your e-commerce business to fulfill an order. Okay. In 2017, EKN Research released a report called Strategies for Agile, Profitable, and Secure Omnichannel Execution. This report had surveyed 211 omni-channel retailers. Some 40% of those retailers said that order fulfillment was a challenge because it was expensive. Now here's my question. What are the other 60% doing? My guess, they're not accurately accounting for fulfillment costs, because I think everyone in the business wishes that fulfillment was less expensive. Next, 67% of retail CEOs surveyed said that fulfillment costs were rising. So they might not know exactly everything that goes into the cost of fulfillment, but they know that those costs are becoming more expensive. Perhaps this is because they're trying to keep up with free 2-day shipping or free next-day shipping offers from their competition. Who knows? And there was a statistic in this report that, frankly, I couldn't believe it. Okay. But EKN Research said that for its omni-channel survey of respondents, fulfillment costs could approach 70% of the total order value. Let that sink in. If that is really the case, do not buy stock in the 211 omni-channel retail companies that EKN Research surveyed, because those folks are losing money hand over fist. Okay? At a basic level, you should be considering labor, warehousing, or storage, equipment, supplies, and shipping when you calculate your average cost to fulfill an online order. We want to do this, for example, on a per item basis for labor. So if you pay your warehouse staff $20 per hour and a picker can process 10 orders per hour, that works out to be $2 per order. Similarly, if you had a bit better pick and pack system and could do 15 orders per hour, the cost would be $1.33. Okay. You are almost certainly paying something for your warehouse square footage. You can estimate how much this is by comparing your lease payment to your monthly order volume. For example, let's assume shipment volumes of 10,000 and 20,000 orders per month and a lease of $10,000 per month. This would give us a storage or warehouse cost of $1.50 in our two examples. If you have costs associated with conveyor systems, forklifts, or similar, you need to estimate these for each order too. An example, I'm going to suggest that a company with 20,000 orders a month in volume will have somewhat more costs associated with equipment. And again, we're considering this on a per order basis. Each order fulfilled needs to be put in a box or a bag. Okay. It may be, there's some packing materials you have to add to protect it. You need to put a label or two on it. So you have some supply costs associated with each order. Finally, you need an average cost of shipping. You could take everything your e-commerce company paid UPS, FedEx, or other carriers during a given period, say a month of time, and divide that by the number of orders shipped for that same time period to get this figure. Now, add up all of your expenses for an average fulfillment cost per order. And we could have also started with, your total labor cost, your total storage cost, your total equipment cost, and your total supply costs for a particular time period, again, say a month or a quarter or even a year, and divide those by the total number of orders shipped during that same time period. Regardless, you would still now have an average cost per order for fulfillment. And you can compare this cost to the rates a third-party fulfillment provider is proposing, or even to the costs of acquiring and managing an additional warehouse. Right? You can compare what you're spending now to what you might spend as you move toward distributed fulfillment centers. So this has just been a quick review of how you might calculate the cost of fulfillment. And it was done still under the heading of, first, how a distributed fulfillment center strategy can lower costs, and second, specifically, how this might happen via efficiency. So in our example, we had pickers collecting and packing 10 or 15 orders per hour, and this put our labor cost at $2 and $1.33 per order, respectively. But what if you could significantly reduce that? These are pictures of a goods-to-picker e-commerce fulfillment system. Okay, there are a few companies that make something like this, but the idea is that the goods, the items, particularly small or high-value items, are stored in these tower-like structures, and the machine brings the bins of products to the picker, the packer, to complete each order. Okay, with this sort of system in place, it is not uncommon for a packer to be able to do, 30 orders an hour or even more, effectively reducing labor costs. Okay, maybe increasing equipment costs, but effectively reducing labor costs, and in the end, producing more efficiency. Bottom line, when you choose a distributed fulfillment center model and you partner with a fulfillment specialist, it is possible that you'll be more efficient, and therefore your company's real costs of fulfillment could be lower. Okay? I'm going to try to make my next point quickly, and it again has to do with using a company specializing in fulfillment as you move to a distributed warehouse strategy. I also need to say that it's very possible, if not very likely, that your e-commerce warehouse, the one you ship from right now, is very effective. Okay? It is likely that you have almost no fulfillment errors. I know a warehouse manager named Roger. I've known him for like a decade. He runs the distribution center for a regional omnichannel retailer, and the man knows his stuff. His team doesn't make errors. So please don't hear what I am not saying. Okay? Your fulfillment center can be very effective. However, this is not the case for every e-commerce operation. And you know who I'm talking about, or who I'm talking to if this is your company. If you regularly have returns because the wrong item was shipped, or if you regularly miss promised delivery dates, your e-commerce business has costs associated with those errors. And sometimes those sorts of mistakes can be reduced when you choose a third-party fulfillment provider. Okay, enough said about that. I just wanted to make that point, and now I'm going to move on to actually lowering shipping costs with your carriers. So I went to the UPS website last week, and I priced the cost of shipping a 5-pound package to an address in Los Angeles, California. For my shipping origin, my warehouse, I used addresses in Cranberry, New Jersey, Henderson, Nevada near Las Vegas, and nearby in Los Angeles. It is clear that the closer my warehouse is to my customer, the less it costs to ship the order. If your e-commerce business only had a fulfillment center in Cranberry, New Jersey, it would cost almost $9 more for you to service that customer. Even when you compare a warehouse in Nevada to a warehouse in Los Angeles, you could save 70 cents per order. If you sent 1,000 orders a week to Los Angeles, that could be as much as $700 in additional profit each week. If you did that for 52 weeks a year, your e-commerce operation would have $36,400 in additional profit. If you send 10,000 orders a week to LA or to the LA area, you would drop more than $360,000 in additional profit to the bottom line by having a fulfillment center there in Southern California. So when we ask the question, how can a distributed fulfillment center strategy lower your costs? The answer is that it can be more efficient, it can be more effective, and it will almost certainly lower what you pay carriers like UPS, FedEx, and the United States Postal Service to deliver your packages. And remember, on this last point, if you use a fulfillment provider, it may also be the case that they have relatively better or lower negotiated rates too, which could amplify the cost savings that we've just been talking about. Okay, this section and the next two, frankly, will go a bit more quickly. I front-end loaded our presentation because when you are considering a move to a distributed fulfillment center strategy, the ability to encourage online purchases with fast free shipping and the ability to lower order fulfillment costs are probably and rightly the two most important factors. However, we should not overlook the fact that good, maybe even great e-commerce fulfillment also has a positive effect on customer service. So my arguments are that when you do things correctly, properly, when your e-commerce business succeeds, if you will, with order fulfillment, you, one, provide a good shopping experience, two, reduce the number of customer complaints, and three, begin to build a trust relationship with your customers. I want you to think about Amazon for a moment. Back in 2015, so a few years ago, there was a report that said that 74% of Amazon Prime members converted when they looked at an item, compared to just 13% of non-Prime members. That's still a good conversion rate, 13%. 74% is crazy. So why was this the case? Well, first, Prime offered free 2-day shipping. This appealed to the shopper's desire for fast, free shipping. Right? It has a positive impact on the customer's shopping experience. Second, because Amazon does a really good job of delivering on time, customers got the item they wanted when it was promised. Thus, no real reason to complain. Finally, after experiencing fast free shipping that arrived as promised, on time, shoppers were willing to trust or expect that their order would be delivered as promised. That makes sense, right? Conversely, a 2016 survey titled "The State of Online Shopper Expectations and Actions" found that, quote, a third of online shoppers say they would contact customer service when a non-urgent item arrives just 1 day late. And 79% say they would contact customer service when a non-urgent item arrives 3 days late. Heck, if you have the misfortune of a shipment being late over a weekend, you might have nearly 80% of customers who experience that failure complaining to your customer service department and, everyone they know on Facebook, okay? I am not going to belabor this point, in part because I need to monitor my time, but also in part because I think the connection between providing a better e-commerce shopping experience and customer service is obvious, okay? Customer service as a goal in your e-commerce business is not about making a customer feel better when a mistake has been made. Rather, good customer service is about actually being better. When your company can quickly, cheaply, and accurately deliver e-commerce orders, you are being better and you are providing better customer service. I want to speak very briefly about how one manages inventory at multiple locations. And I want to make 2 points. First, or the first one I should say, is about order management software. The second is about inventory planning. Okay, I have a picture up here of Rect and Super Logistics Smart Fill program, which is part of the company's Smart Suite software. I picked it as an example because RSL is our sponsor. But here's the point. From the perspective of order management, the software side of it, if you will, shipping from multiple warehouses is not much more difficult than shipping from a single location. Frankly, from the software side, it may be no more difficult. RSL gives you free fulfillment software that allows you to, easily route orders to the proper fulfillment center, and it integrates with many e-commerce platforms, including Shopify, Magento, BigCommerce, Volusion, and I'm probably missing some. Okay, there's also an API, an application program interface that you can use for custom integrations. And this software, as good as it may be, is also not unique. There are many software solutions available, including, for example, ShipStation, that would make the software side, if you will, of distributed fulfillment easy. So stop fretting, okay? The more challenging problem when you move toward a distributed fulfillment center model is or has to do with inventory allocation or management. How many units of a given item do you warehouse at each of your distribution locations, okay? There are probably at least 3 ways you could go about making this decision. Okay, and thus the 3 that you see here. If you have no clue how well something will sell, you could just split it up evenly. Okay, or you could decide, for example, that you will sell more bicycles in warm weather spots like California, Texas, or Florida, and thus put more bicycle inventory in those regions versus, say, Minnesota. Finally, you could use your historical order data to estimate how many units of a given item you need in a particular warehouse location. This third option is what I recommend. And as you look for a third-party fulfillment service, I would hope that they can help you conduct this sort of analysis. We're down to my final section. Actually, let's see. It looks like we have a few questions waiting for the end of the presentation. That's good. Remember, please chat questions in as you think about them. I'll get to them shortly, and I'll have some help from RSL, Rect and Super Logistics. But I wanted to provide a checklist of sorts of 7 things you want to look for when you decide to use a third-party fulfillment provider as part of your distributed network of fulfillment centers. And I say as part of because I think it can be a very good model to have 1 or even 2 warehouses your e-commerce company manages and a number of additional fulfillment centers managed by a third-party fulfillment provider. Or frankly, you could also be very successful if your business partners with some company to do all of your e-commerce fulfillment from multiple locations. Both can be very effective. In either case, here are 7 of the many things you might want to consider as you choose this partner. So location is obvious. Almost all of the advantages of having a distributed network of shipping locations comes from having those shipping locations close to your customers. Make sure that's the case. You need to make sure that your partner can also properly manage the products you sell. If your e-commerce business is Cinderella's glass slipper store, you need to make certain that the fulfillment center that you work with is prepared to take care of your fragile slippers, right? Next, I promised you a few minutes ago that you did not need to fret about integration or the ease of managing shipments from multiple locations. I was referring to leading fulfillment providers. So check out anyone you want to work with. Make sure they can integrate. Once you are armed with how much it costs your e-commerce business to fulfill an order now, you are effectively qualified to examine a quote and ensure that your partner is right priced for the services they provide. Also, don't be afraid of things like receiving fees. I would rather pay a little to ensure my products are properly received and inventoried than run short on products. And I'll mention this again in point 6. Let's see. Where price is concerned, be aware that prices can change, regionally. They can also change seasonally. Will your fulfillment warehouse suddenly start charging you more during peak seasons? You need to ask and you need to know. Okay. You want to get performance guarantees. If your fulfillment provider picks the wrong product and causes a return or an exchange, you probably want them to cover those costs, okay? You should really expect something close to 100% accuracy from your fulfillment partner. Back to excellent receiving and inventory control. I don't know about you, but not every order I place with a supplier comes in exactly as I submitted the PO. Sometimes things are back ordered. Sometimes the vendor, your supplier, missed an item. You want to make certain that everything that is on the invoice from your supplier actually arrived at the fulfillment center at the warehouse. Your fulfillment partner needs to get this right. It can also be helpful if the fulfillment center is near a port. If you are receiving a container of men's polo shirts from Taiwan, you don't always want to have to truck them 500 miles to your fulfillment center. Lastly, what level of customer service and support will you receive? When you include a third-party warehouse in your fulfillment network, can you call someone, get an immediate answer? Can you call someone to verify account? What kind of service are you going to get from that partner? Okay. So in the context of a discussion of getting ready or getting started with a distributed network of fulfillment centers, I've tried to cover these 5 sections. For many growing e-commerce operations, a distributed fulfillment network can provide a significant competitive advantage in terms of fast, low-cost shipping and lower overall fulfillment expenses.